is a move from the sofa of superstition, the sofa of celebration, the sofa of success, to the laptop of loathing. I opened the laptop of leery comments and through the kind of flecked, speckled, mottled almost screen. It's an old laptop. I don't know what's happened there. The general temperature I was taking of the Rangers supporters like myself who find it absolutely necessary to get on some sort of public forum and share their opinions with everybody. For me, it's a form of therapy. I just need to get it out there and know that somebody else has seen it. Maybe they can stop me being alone with my feelings. Maybe I can help them. They'll know they're not alone. They've got the same weirdo opinions about Rangers as myself, and they'll take some sort of comfort in that. It's my way of giving back, my way of giving back as much as it is of taking. But taking the general temperature of other Rangers fans like myself, it seemed to be, oh my God, what was that like? That was mental. That was crazy. You never can tell with this Rangers team. What a surprise. You just don't know what way it's going to go at all with Philippe Clement's crazy. Really? Yeah. Is that? I don't really get. I think Rangers have only had two unpredictable results this season, crazy results this season. Were both against Dundee United. And Saturday, that was the first time we had dropped points, the first time we had failed to win. Two League Cup games at home as well. That's the first time we had failed to win a home domestic match this season. And we're practically in December. When we beat Dundee United at Tannadice earlier in the season, that's the only domestic away match that we have won this season. Tonight, we were away from home in Europe, and Philippe Clement does not lose away from home in Europe. He doesn't lose away from home in Europe. Now, we were kind of surprised by maybe how many goals Rangers won by, or the fact that they won at all. And we were surprised by the kind of mistakes that Nice were making in this game. But the idea that it was just, oh my God, that was just totally unexpected how that went there. That doesn't add up at all. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't scan, because Philippe Clement has just equalled the record for away European ties as Rangers manager, unbeaten. He's equalled Steven Gerrard's record. That's the biggest win we've had away from home in Europe since the 4-0 win against Willem II in Tilburg, when it was a COVID season. It was just a one-legged tie. I think it was the third qualifying round it would be for the Europa League in 2020-21 season. The season in 155, and it was one of the early signs. I remember sitting watching that one on my laptop. Was it Rangers TV or something? And we swept them away 4-0. I think Graves even saved a penalty. The game before that, we'd beaten, was it Lincoln Red Imps 5-0 in Gibraltar, and then we had a great tie against Galatasaray. And that season, it was all one season. It was 7 games. We started with that the 5-0 win over. We'd lost to Bayer Leverkusen earlier that year, but basically the end, it was just the COVID was afflicting things. But we lost to Bayer Leverkusen 1-0 in Leverkusen, the much delayed second leg of that Europa League last 16 tie from the previous season. But then we played. Was it St Joseph's or was it Lincoln? It was Lincoln Red Imps. St Joseph's was earlier. We beat them 5-0. We beat Willem 2 4-0. Then we beat Galatasaray, and we ended up in the last 16 of the Europa League again, where we had the 1-1 draw in Prague with Slavia before they beat us at a horrible game at Ibrox where they were racially abusing Glenn Kamara. And then Philippe Clement has started the 7-game run away from home in Europe. They now equalled that run without defeat. It has started in Prague, the 0-0 with Sparta Prague. There's no surprise whatsoever in this result. I'm not saying maybe surprise, I say, in the nature, the heaviness of Nice's defeat, the kind of the power of our win, if you like, the decisive nature of our win, the decisive nature of the scoreline. But Rangers winning the game it's no surprise. The only kind of peril, the only chance in any set of Rangers fixtures this season is our home European games. Lost 2-0 at home to Dynamo Kiev, lost 4-1 at home to Lyon, but also gubbed FCSB or Steaua Bucharest 4-0 at home. And that was that 4-0 win at home. It was about they had the reserves out. They were resting a lot of players, did a few suspensions. We're getting the same kind of patter tonight about this game. I think it's getting a bit much. The idea that we can't enjoy this, it doesn't really count because it goes against the narrative. It's down to Nice as well, the mistakes we're making. There's no denying that we're making plenty of mistakes tonight. Hamza Igamane, who really exploded onto the scene tonight, he gets 2 goals, but he also gets an assist. But the 2 goals he gets, there's no assist. There's no assist listed for them because it's both times it's Nice players he's taking the ball from. He's dispossessing Nice players before he puts it in the back of the net. So that's fine. Nice definitely did make mistakes. But that's the first game they've lost at home all season. They're 5th in Ligue 1. 5th in Ligue 1. The French have 4 teams in the Champions League group. This season's Champions League group says the French have got 4 teams in there. That's how much higher their coefficient is. Now, I know there's a horrible, perverse thing where UEFA just look after their own. They look after the team's big money because it's probably France and Ligue 1 is the most disgusting example of that. French clubs historically have won 2 European trophies. 2. And when Marseille won the European Cup, well, it was the first season of the Champions League in 1992, 1993. They cheated en route to doing that. And they weren't allowed to defend it. They weren't even allowed to defend it. So PSG won the Cup Winners' Cup in 95. That's it. That's the only 2 times France. Scotland, us and Aberdeen have won the Cup Winners' Cup. Celtic have won the European Cup. Scotland's got 3 European trophies to its credit. France only has 2. So that never gets factored into the coefficient. So the idea that Philippe Clement has somehow jammied his way through this tonight, this isn't really worth celebrating particularly, is coming from people who are far too, if it's coming from a Rangers supporter, it's somebody who's far too invested in personal stuff. I don't give a fuck. Obviously, you can see, you've seen my pods. I don't give a shit about how stupid I look. The more stupid I can look, the better. I just want people to be at ease when they're listening to my podcast. I want them to know there's no... I'm not battering any agendas down their throat other than that I love Rangers, and I just want you to see how stupid it makes me, my love of Rangers, so we can all feel the same way about it. But there's stuff you get passionate about and what have you, but I'm not trying to say I know for a fact that Philippe Clement's going to be a great manager for Rangers. I just don't think we're at the point where we should sack him. I was saying that in my 90-minute long pod previewing this game tonight. Because the mentalness, the nuts, the reason that pod was 90 minutes long, apart from my verbosity, is everything that's going on at Rangers just now. I went away for the international break, stopped podding about Rangers for the international break. By the time I come back, the preview pod for Dundee United on Saturday there was also a 90 minutes, and now on 25 minutes, because there's so much goes on when Rangers aren't even playing just now. You know, Philippe Clement tonight is working with, he got a technical director, a guy he'd worked with as top scout or whatever. He got appointed just last week. The position became a position, and someone he's been working with at Rangers got appointed to that post last week. That's a big thing for Clement. Over the weekend, a new CEO was officially announced by the club. He gets taken into meetings with this new CEO after we've had a crap result against Dundee United. We're up against, you've got the mainstream media and fan media and the fans in the stadium booing. Everybody is out for Clement, and the pressers he's had. Okay reaction, okay kind of pressers before Dundee United. After that, it's just been open season on the man. All that working against him. So the idea that this wasn't much of a result tonight, and it was kind of landed on our lap. We had to, the psychology, involved in getting this win tonight and being ready to capitalise on any slip-ups by Nice is, it's absolutely fantastic. And it proves yet again, all I'm really saying about Clement, maybe it doesn't prove it, sorry, again, this is just an opinion, is having seen it especially twice in the last 2 years, I think you can tell when the manager's gone and should actually go. You can tell when the manager's effect, the manager's hold over a team is just becoming toxic. It was against Aberdeen at Ibrox last year for Michael Beale. That was it. It was a few games before that, obviously, where things were looking bad. But a couple of terrible performances. But there was that game against Aberdeen where the players couldn't help themselves. They were physically trying to play out the manager's game plan. This stuff about he's lost the dressing room didn't apply. It was just they don't know what to do anymore. It's gone. The whole effect of that manager has become negative, wholly negative. It's time to move on. And it's the same thing. I wanted to make sure with Michael Beale, and that happened pretty quickly. We got to that point pretty quickly. A year after Steven Gerrard had left for Aston Villa, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, who won us the Scottish Cup, who got us to a European final, who got us into the Champions League, with amazing results against PSV Eindhoven, amazing performances. He's going up to St Johnstone and, you know, passing the ball endlessly around that horseshoe, just lobbing lots of high balls into the box, high ball after high ball. And then John Lundstram gets so bored with that move that he takes his eye off the ball. A St Johnstone player gets it. Lundstram decides to have a tantrum instead of chasing the guy down, and it gets pinged straight into the top corner of our net for the first goal. The guy who hit it, the first goal he'd ever scored in professional football. That's when it's just, this isn't working. And we have a game at St Mirren after that, and we draw one each, but it's a nightmare game. It's not happening. You can tell it's gone. This reign is over. It needs to end. I don't think we've hit that point with Clement yet. I just don't see. Don't think, and we would certainly not have got the performance tonight if that was the case. If he'd lost the dressing room or one of these other mythically, you know, terrible things that goes on behind the scenes that we all imagine when a team's not playing as well as it should. I think there's so much going on that the club. I don't want to repeat myself. This is all in the preview pod last night. If you're feeling really, if you kind of get to sleep, just put it on. It's great ASMR. It really, my voice is really grating, monotone. It will lull you to sleep. But I'm just talking about the fact that there's so much going on behind the scenes. There's so much to be repaired, so much to be built up again. The whole infrastructure of the club is being reset again, and the team is following that and being reset. But I do see shapes. I do see the stuff that the manager's trying to do. The execution is poor, but I know what he's trying to do, and I've not been convinced that it won't happen yet. That's what I'm saying. I've not been convinced that Philippe Clement won't be ultimately successful at Rangers, so I don't think it's yet time to get rid of him. It's not because I'm particularly partial to the guy or I've invested too much in Philippe Clement that I can only see his successes. You know, it's just, I want what's best for Rangers, and I don't think, I think it's too soon. I think it would be bad for Rangers to get rid of Philippe Clement at this point in time. And that was a phenomenal result tonight. That was phenomenal. It's the most goals we've ever scored in France. There's a poetic angle to it. 1956, it's 68 years to the night. 60 years today since Nice put us out, our first ever European tie. It went to a third game in the Parc des Princes in Paris. So we've gone out in the days before they had penalty kicks, before they even had extra time, I think, in the very first, it was only the second season of European football, European club competition, and we went out to Nice in our very first tie. So it's taken us, 68 years to get it. Eric Caldo, Bobby Shearer, George Young, George Niven, Harold Davis, all the guys that took part in that time. Johnny Hubbard, Max Murray, Billy Simpson. We've got your back, boys. We got them back. We got them back eventually. It only took us 68 years. Sometimes it pays to wait. We will get them eventually. That was a phenomenally historic result tonight. You really have. You've got to enjoy it. The preview pod I did, it was 90 minutes long. I'm going to have to start doing another pod at the beginning of the week to try and get rid of to cover all the administrative stuff that's been going on, appointments and shenanigans going on in the boardroom and with the playing staff, whatever. And then we can just concentrate on having a preview that's all about the team we're playing, a preview pod that's just all about the game at hand, and a reaction pod just all about the game at hand. But it went on for an hour and a half, and I didn't get back to. I started off, I was talking about Hemingway, Paris, and he's doing it the Basque Country and what have you, and this is my favourite Fiesta, The Sun Also Rises, and I was supposed to finish it off by talking about this paragraph right at the beginning, chapter 3, and it's a paragraph that's stayed with me my whole life. Pernod is greenish imitation absinthe. When you add water, it turns milky. It tastes like licorice and it has a good uplift, but it drops you just as far. We sat and drank it, and the girl looked sullen. Pernod is greenish imitation absinthe. During the writing of Fiesta, or The Sun Also Rises, Hemingway was converting to Catholicism, which maybe explains some of the rampant anti-Semitism in the book. But it's not that kind of. It's a Roman a clef. It's talking about basically just giving different names to real life characters. Harold Loeb was the real life guy that real life Robert Kahn in the book, and he's subject to some kind of anti-Semitic insults And it's like with Nail and I or something, or like Raging Bulls. It's a great work of art. Therefore, it's just real. It's just reporting the reality of a situation, not saying good or bad. And so there's no political correctness, overt, overly political correct writing going on here. It's just trying to say there's no judgment either. It's just how people were at that point in time. But he was converted to Catholicism when he wrote this book, and it's one of my favourite books of all time. And you've got this thing about absinthe, the green fairy, and the only absinthe I ever saw or tried, it was 67%. I don't think this is green, 67, Lisbon and what have you. And I'm not a religious person as well, so the fairy, the green fairy stuff, it all makes a kind of sense. That the most wrecked I have ever been, me and my mate Alan, the guy who introduced me to Hemingway decades ago, we would have our little Hemingway moment after a night on the pints, and then we'd get some absinthe just so we could get a wee bit of water to turn it cloudy, milky, like it says in chapter 3 of Fiesta. It's the most wrecked I've ever been in my life. A night on the Pernod, never mind the absinthe. It's an imitation absinthe, the Pernod. It's just blackout stuff, the worst state I've ever been in my life. But if I got to bring that round, it was going to make more sense in the preview pod. It's like Jack Bruce used to say for the cream, never mind the milky Pernod. He said, no, cream, Jack Bruce, the bassist, with cream, no Ginger Baker on drums, and certainly Eric Clapton on guitar. And he talked about the fact that they're just three jazz musicians trying to be rock musicians, and they would go away in the middle of the wee songs, they'd do their wee thing, and they would start having their little moments and their instrument going on, little discourses of their own. And Jack Bruce would say, we knew that we'd get each other, and that we'd see each other on the other side. We'd all come back together and get back in. So I can't even see myself on the other side. I can't even join up my own individual pods. But that was three very famous musicians who knew how to work on their own and as part of a team, as you should always say on your CV. And my God, we were a team tonight. We performed like a team tonight. It was a moment of 64th minute. It's a 64th minute where Igamane goes down. He turns inside the guy. He twists his ankle. It's not a foul. It's not a foul by Nice. The Nice player. And it's kind of outside the Nice box. They play the ball up the wing and they're on a break. They're breaking on us. And somebody just puts their hand up and says, he's injured. And they stop and they put the ball straight out of play. This is the team who in the first half were showing the referee the stud marks on their chest to try and get Rangers players sent off. By the time Igamane goes down, it was the 64th minute. We'd gone 4-0 up 10 minutes earlier. They were looking for excuses to stop play and run down the clock because they didn't want anything else. They didn't want to concede any more goals. We'd battered them. We'd finished them. We'd emptied Nice, OGC Nice, 5th in Ligue 1. We had completely shattered them to the point where they were scared to try and attack us, because every time they tried to attack us, we were tearing them to pieces. I'm not going to get carried away with this, but Nice, of course, play red and black stripes. They're playing in tonight. And the famous Rosso Neri, they weren't playing famously. Milan play most of the European Cup finals, the Champions League finals they play, and they're all white. The European away kit is all white. And in 1994, my favourite ever performance by a team that is not Rangers was Milan in that 1994 Champions League final in Athens against the Barcelona Dream Team, when the central defence had been suspended by the diving skills of a certain Jurgen Klinsmann in the semi-final against Monaco, who would latterly be managed by Philippe Clement, and here he was tonight back in Ligue 1, showing them what he could do. And that wasn't going according to plan. Milan were destroying Barcelona. They just went all-out attack, despite all their single-goal wins in Serie A that season. Their miserly, beautifully minimalist win of Serie A that season. They just went all-out attack in the biggest game of all and blew the Barcelona Dream Team, Stoichkov and Romario, a certain Pep Guardiola in the middle of the park. They blew them away. And I think it got to like 3-0, so if each of it scores early in the second half. And the Barcelona have had enough. Like Koeman and all these guys, they start going about Jose Baquero just putting the boot in. Just start, you're embarrassing the mighty Barca. We're going to start putting the boot in. No, Koeman, who likes to break a guy's jaw in the semi-final of the European Cup, the Champions League. And what then happened was Milan stepped it up a gear. And Marcel Desailly just bursts through 3 or 4 of them, blooting them out of the way and curls one right in the top corner. And Milan were saying, if you start getting heavy with us, we're actually holding back. it'll just get worse for you. And they'd gone 4-0 up as well. I might be getting carried away comparing Rangers tonight to one of the greatest performances in the history of football, but it was that kind of vibe. To see Rangers doing that away from home in Europe against a side playing at a phenomenal level, a level we can only dream of. We've been beaten 4-1 at home by the team who are immediately below Nice in Ligue 1 this season. And here we were going over to France and winning 4-1 ourselves. It was fantastic. How you doing, folks? This is your Fat Egg post. Rangers have equalled their record of consecutive away games in European football without defeat reaction pod, coming to you in association with Jersnet. Check out Jersnet. I think tomorrow night, Friday night, it's going to be, I think it's John and Colin, so they'll be having a great old time talking about this game and looking ahead to St Johnstone on Sunday, where things will probably go back to normal. So I'm sponsored by Jersnet, and I'm also sponsored by just taking a chill pill. I'm also sponsored by just chilling out, by just calming down, just having one of those kind of come down moments. The first one I ever really remember having. I'm terrible at volleyball. I'm terrible at playing volleyball. But I was tall for my age at school. I was over 6 foot. By the time I was, I don't know, by the time I left school, I think, but you know, in first, second year at school, I was kind of 5'10" or something like that. And in Ardrossan, that's like a giant. So my mates were on the volleyball team and they could actually play volleyball. And that team I was in really could play volleyball. I just get dragged into, you know, just come on, join. That's what we do. So I did that. Kept me out of trouble for a couple of years. I was even crapper at football. So the second choice was joining the volleyball team, and it turned out we won the Scottish Cup, we won the Ayrshire Cup, we ended up winning a European tournament as well. I think we went to Portugal for something. And then we won a Tachikara tournament, big tournament down in Wolverhampton. That's a huge tournament as well. It was basically, by that point I'd packed it in. I was on the bench for the Scottish Cup final. I was on the bench for the Ayrshire Cup final, and I did not get off the bench for either of them because they weren't risking it. So our coaches knew exactly what to do. My coach was a Scotland international at the all volleyball cracking team. It was. But the main benefit of that for me was we went, the thing you do at school, secondary school, there's an excuse for a trip. You know, if you're in the choir, you'll go to, I don't know, Vienna or something like that. And if your school's rich enough to have a band or you'll go to Berlin and play, I don't know, somewhere in Berlin. You get an excuse for a trip abroad when you're in secondary school. And it was the first time I think MD in our family had been abroad, was when our volleyball team went to the Netherlands. We went to Holland. They had all these sports complexes of the Dutch are like when it comes to the sport for the kids our age, and we were basing ourselves in this place called Zeist, which is about just over an hour away from Rotterdam by bus, and we would play lots of local teams of our age, and I was kind of like captain of the B team kind of thing, you know, and it was just all about getting away. And we went away on a Sunday morning in October. I think it was like 1983. I'd be 13, 14. I'm going to get back to Rangers, don't worry about it. And we ended up, I don't even know where the bus got the ferry. Was it Hull? Was it Rosyth? I can't remember where we went to get the ferry over to Rotterdam, but it was an overnight ferry. And it was great. When you're that age, 13, 14, the hormones are going crazy. You know, you're scared about adult life, but you're also excited by it, all that kind of stuff. I'm still a wee boy today, obviously, emotionally, but back then it was even worse. And it was that you're too young to do drink. I got a couple of boys, you know, even taller than me at the time, managed to get themselves a pint on the bar on the ferry, but they get caught straight away. So that didn't last long, but it was all part of the fun. There was in the wee kind of bar area, just a typical ferry bar, but you're all kids, and our parents weren't there, and we're given a bit of license, and we were able to go up and we're dancing and all that on the dance floor. And I remember there must be there's another school for Glasgow, and basically it was a culture club, Karma Chameleon. Your colours are like my dreams, and they're all singing white, gold and green, and we were all singing God save the Queen. That's just bringing sectarianism to the Dutch, representing in my early teenage years. That's what Scotland's all about. So there was all that going on, but just that sense of freedom, up dancing and what have you. And I just remember you were in the kind of bit where you sat on the seats, and there was no cabins and anything like that. We're just all sleeping in the kind of the main passenger area. Some folk are sitting in seats. I was lying on the floor. We all got blankets. We're lying there. And I remember this girl who every boy in my year was in love with. She's a beautiful girl. And she's a beautiful person as well, which made it even worse. She's just lovely. She was a couple of years above us. And I always remember the next morning just waking up. She woke me up. Woke up. She's like, Alec, time to go up. I'm just thinking, all my dreams have just come true. That's fantastic. All my dreams have come true. This is great. So we ended up, we get the bus from Rotterdam, or the port of Rotterdam, whatever. I remember going past Feyenoord Stadium, going past the Kuip, and I was wetting myself about that. But internally, internally getting excited, because this bus trip, we're all knackered because we've been up, cavorting and carrying on and having a laugh and that all night. We didn't get a proper night's sleep. And then for most of us, it's our first time abroad as well. And we're in this bus, and it was really dull day. And then one day, and we're driving, we're in this bus, and just, kind of really taken on by the foreign landscape, just the subtle changes, the road signs, the slight difference to the motorway markings and things like that. Just a kind of boring motorway bus journey. But we were all, just really early teenage years, and we were on our first come down, basically. There'd been virtually zero alcohol involved the previous night, just a lot of excitement, a lot of, it was just great fun to have that wee bit of freedom. And here we were kind of paying the physical price, but it was a really mellow way, and somebody had done that thing that everybody would do in the 80s. They'd got their Big Brother's vinyl, and they'd get the cassette tape, and they'd recorded the two Heaven 17 albums of the time. Was it Penthouse and Pavement, and was it the Luxury Gap? One was on one side, one was on the other. And just gave that to the bus driver, and he put it on and just turned it after 3/4 of an hour or whatever. And we just all sat there listening to these tunes, thinking they were the most amazing tunes ever. They were just absolutely gorgeous. They were perfect. It was futuristic music, contemporary music, and it was just one of those moments. It was your first kind of moment of thinking, yeah, adult life can be okay, it can be pretty exciting, we can have a good time, lots of adventures ahead, and we just had to sit and take it all in, what we'd all experienced the night before, and what we were about to experience, just running about wild in the Netherlands. And it was great. It was beautiful, just a moment, and amongst all the trauma of growing up, it was just one of those moments that it's going to be okay, take a breath, this is lovely. I think that's what we did tonight. I think that's what Rangers did tonight. I think we should take that as Rangers supporters, because it's been horrendous this season. It's been horrendous for quite a while at Rangers. But the infighting, and this manager's got to go, and getting scalped for nothing at Parkhead, losing at Perthshire, the worries about what's going to happen to us domestically. We're still debating, obviously. It all goes down to, it'll all change again on Sunday at McDermott. We have to win at McDermott Park. As I was saying in the preview pod, we can be the only team in the world that's like, doesn't matter what happened in the French Riviera. It doesn't matter that you went and you beat OGC Nice all hands down. How are you going to get on in the banks of the Silvery Tay? How are you going to get on against St Johnstone at McDermott? Because if we don't win this game, and we need to win it on Sunday, then it's straight back to the same old thing. And I'm doing the same thing. Oh, it's crazy, it's mad, whatever. But it's a pressured scenario for Rangers this season. There's been a lot of stuff we've been through, and this tonight was just beautiful to be 3-0 up at half time, 4-0 up after 54 minutes, knowing the chances. I still get a bit worried when they pulled a goal back. Some of these crazy European games. I say they haven't lost a game at home this season. They come back from 2-0 down, and I think it was 2-1 down. They went down to 10 men as well. Nice in their last home game. I think it was the last game in this group stage against Sam Lammers. He scored, Sam Lammers, and 20. But it was never going to happen, and it's beautiful. Let's just enjoy it. Let's enjoy the fact that Rangers are 8th in this. We've got 10 points after 5 games. We are averaging losing a point a game domestically in the league, just over a point per game. We're losing in league football, domestic football, SPFL football this season, but we're gaining 2 points a game in our Europa League group campaign. And it's there have been 3 Scottish teams playing in Europe this season. We had this week. We had the most difficult fixture. Celtic at home to Bruges, Philippe Clement's old club, Bruges. They go to Parkhead and do something that he can't. and stop Celtic winning. They take a point there, and we've got Lawrence Shankland back in Belgium. He played for Beerschot. That was Philip Clement's first club as a player, his last club as a player. Shankland had a season at Beerschot. I don't know if he played at Cercle Bruges, which is Bruges' stadium. They share it with Club Bruges, the Jan Bredow Stadium, and the Jambos were there the night, and Shankland has a penalty and he puts it over the bar. It's a cry for help. It's a come get me. He needs a change of scene. Lawrence Shankland, go and get him, Philippe. And there was the man himself, our big baldy Belgian gaffer, going back to Ligue 1, where he was kind of chucked out by Monaco, chucked out in his arse before he came to us, and he had maybe a wee point to prove, and he certainly did. And Monaco losing last night in fine style, chucking it in the final minutes against Benfica, going from 2-1 up to losing 3-2. And this morning I was seeing little bits of my breakfast, seeing little highlights. I wasn't paying full attention. I was looking at stuff on my laptop and what have you. Statistics, football statistics relating to Nice. But I'm glancing up at TNT on mute, and I'm saying, who's that that's pumping? Who's that getting really excited over the red and white? That's Red Star Belgrade. That's Crvena Zvezda Belgrade. They're beating Stuttgart. They're beating VfB Stuttgart 5-1. They were at home. And I'm thinking that's a great result. Imagine we get a result like that. That must be great fun. Well, we went and won 4-1 at the Allianz Riviera at the Grand Stade de Nice, which is the name they give it, because UEFA control all sponsorship. It's the name they give it for European competition. That stadium we're playing tonight is actually the first stadium that Scotland's women's team played in the World Cup finals. The first World Cup finals match, get beat by England. They also lost to England in the first game in the Euros as well, and that was in the Netherlands. Anyway, but that's a by the by. My name's Alec Anderson. You're a wonderful girl. You've got a wonderful smell. You've got wonderful arms. You got charm. You got wonderful hair. We make a wonderful pair. Now I don't mind having a chat, but you have to keep giving it that. Oh, you won't stop talking. Why don't you give it a rest? You got more rabbit than Sainsbury's. It's time you got it off your chest. Now you is just the kind of girl to break my heart in two. I knew right off when I first clapped my eyes on you. But how was I to know you'd bend my heroes too? With your incessant talking, you're becoming a pest. Rabbit, 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 rabbit. What do you mean we're playing Spurs next? In this, are we? Is it Spurs next? I never thought about that. I'm just maybe comment there, but yes. Great, so Spurs up next, and Spurs may well pump us more than the 7-1 record defeat we had at home against Liverpool a few seasons ago. But we're on 10 points. We're in 8th place. We are in the automatic through to the last berth for getting straight through to the last 16, skipping out the round of 32 playoff round, skipping past that altogether. It shouldn't happen. It still shouldn't happen. We should at least not just be guaranteeing ourselves a place in the round of 32 playoff round, but we hopefully, if you're in the top 8 within that, so down to 16th place, you're going to be seeded in that in the playoff round. So it's a fantastic achievement by Rangers tonight. It's a fantastic achievement in this group stage. Yeah, we've got 10 points, and it's like it's reminded me a bit. We beat Nice 4-1 in Nice tonight, by the way, in match day 5 of the Europa League group. So that's the score in case you never saw it. That's what I'm talking about right now. Always mention the score, Alec, but I look at this group stage, and it's just suddenly kind of dawned on me tonight. I thought it's like a UEFA Cup version. Remember the UEFA Cup did that 20 years ago now? They would temporarily, for a few seasons, they had the group stage where it was a 5-team group, but so everybody played 4 games. You played 2 teams away from home and 2 teams at home, slightly like this format just now. But this tonight, it felt like the way that the group's been arranged for us, with our schedule, the first 4 games are played in this group. There's one out and out hard team, difficult team that we shouldn't beat, and that's Lyon. But then there's one game that's kind of a level, battle it out, and that was away to Olympiacos. And then there's 2 games where there's a good chance we could be slight favourites. Away to Malmo, in no way easy, at home to FCSB. But the second half was going to be away to Nice, home to Spurs, away to Manchester United, and you've got maybe one game where it's kind of a level, where on an equal footing, could go either way. As a home game, the last game with Union St Gilles was, whereas our 3 games we should probably be getting scalped. And it kind of reminded me almost of that they had it in the Champions League for a few seasons. It was only 2 or 3 seasons where they had 2 group stages. You get through the first group stage, you went into a second group stage where it got a bit harder, and it's like we entered the second group stage tonight, and we've started off with a bang. We've started off winning that. We're fantastic. The first time, as I say, we've scored 4 goals in France in European football, and we've played a few French teams. We have certainly played a few French. Nice, I keep wanting to call them Lyon, but they're a point above Lyon, and Lyon are 6th, and they're 5th in Ligue 1. Nice, I say, last season, Nice finished 5th and Lyon finished 6th. And that's why they both qualified automatically for the group stages, where Scottish teams are having to fight tooth and nail just to get into a group stage. But they scalped Saint Etienne 8-0 this season. I know Saint Etienne have been through a few hard times recently. I think they've just come back into the top flight. But beating Saint Etienne, who we've played twice in European competition in the years, it was the second team ever played in Europe. But that's the big news at the start of the night was Igamane was in the starting lineup. Dessers was on the bench. They've also got, let's not forget, James Tavernier. That has now kind of happened, hasn't it? The phasing out of James Tavernier. He's on the bench, the club captain. Something that a lot of people were criticising Clement for. He's never going to do that. The idea that James Tavernier had pictures, compromising pictures of all these managers. He was blackmailing. He would turn the dressing room against any manager who didn't give him his way. That's the only reason he was getting a game. That's all absolute nonsense. And I think the manager's just been waiting. He's intimated before that Dujon Sterling wasn't properly fit. I don't think he likes talking, as much as he will talk about injury problems. I think at times he's a bit hard on himself, Clement. He sets himself up by his whole thing of he doesn't want to talk about injuries, he wants to keep everything positive. So he had to get pushed on it before he told us a month or so ago that Sterling was struggling for fitness. That's why he wasn't featuring as often as possible. But he's obviously got that back now, and he's in a position where he can let James Tavernier go onto the bench. Tav, I was hoping maybe after a few international breaks he would recover back to his full fitness, back to his same self, but he must just have hit that age barrier, and it's not going to happen for him. Again, he's going to be kind of a bit part player, a great guy to have around the club. Hopefully he'll get his testimonial year and what have you, but that's it. Sterling's a kind of fixture now in his European ties. We basically ended up with the same team that we started with against Dundee United and in Piraeus against Olympiacos. A desperately difficult fixture, that one, except Dessers has been dropped, and it's Igamane who's starting, who's not a great amount of game time, but the manager again, and it gave him a chance, I think, tonight in his pre-match interview, certainly one I saw on TNT, to reiterate the fact that he's trying to build something here, and these players, younger players, are going to take time to come in. Igamane is 20 years old. I think he's just turned 20 last month, I think, and he's from Morocco. He's from Morocco, and he's playing against Nice, and the most famous Moroccan born player, born in Marrakesh, that ever played for Nice is Jules Fontaine, that guy who scored 13 goals in 1958 World Cup finals, a total that still, for a single World Cup finals, has never been touched really. He scored 13 goals in that World Cup, phenomenal player, and he left Nice, the few seasons there, and he left them to go to Stade de Reims this season, just a few months before Rangers played in Europe for the first time, and we met Nice. So there was a wee link there. Igamane coming on tonight, Hamza Igamane, also Moroccan born, but actually an actual, he'll be wanting to play for Morocco themselves. I think the problem with Dessers away to Olympiacos was just his finishing on the night. He was actually leading the line quite well in terms that night in Piraeus. Of being there, being in and about. He's missing chances. He's missing a lot of chances, but we come away from that game frustrated because we hadn't scored enough goals. We could have scored enough goals to win the game, and that's how it happens. That's when you get results like that. You really just score with your only sojourn up the park, and you get a draw, and you go, yeah, that's fine. We're really happy with it. The minute you get a taste, you have to have more pressure. and more chances than the amount that you're going to score. That's invariably the way it goes tonight. The way it goes in games. So I didn't have a problem with how Dessers played against Olympiacos at all. So Igamane comes in tonight. It's a big call by the manager because he's still a young guy, not had a lot of game time at Rangers. Obviously, he come on into the second half and Saturday against United and played off the left wing. But tonight he was the one. 4-2-3-1. He was the one playing up front, and we straight away. I think we got at them straight away. He showed some lovely touches. He didn't get sent off. He didn't get a booking in the first minute, so that was also a good thing. Where Igamane is very, very keen to put himself about in his few appearances this season, but he's copped a few mad bookings, but not tonight. He showed some lovely footwork and lovely determination out on the right wing within the first minute or so. And this could be on, and we're doing that thing, we're moving the ball vertically the way the manager wants to, because we've got a team that's coming on to us, a team that's attacking us. I know that's a criticism. Again, we've won this game tonight with less possession, just by a few percentiles than OGC Nice, but this is what the manager's working towards, us moving the ball vertically, us moving the ball quickly, and doing it in Europe. I just think Europe, for me, Europe's more important than you need to win domestically to get into Europe. But Mike, what we do in Europe echoes through eternity. I think, as Russell Crowe once said, that's what it is for me. But I mean, winning a league title is not as great fun, unless you get in the face of guys you work with. But European stuff, we need to bum this up. What we're doing just now is absolutely phenomenal. This run we're on. We had that. Sorry, I'm going to keep going on about this, but Gio got to a European final. Gio gave us the best European night of my life. 2 or 3 of them actually, that whole run, post-Christmas to get to the final in Seville was just phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. Some of the best experiences ever. Scintillating stuff. See, when we beat Braga after extra time at Ibrox in the second leg on the Thursday night, then we go to Parkhead and go a goal down with 2 minutes to go to Hampden against Celtic in the Scottish Cup semi-final, and we go a goal down with like 2 minutes to go. But we come back and we win that in extra time. That kind of 3-day period, that was just phenomenal. We were so in the zone, and support were so in the zone. It was tremendous. But we get into the Champions League the following season, group stage, and we're losing 4-0 in Amsterdam. We're losing 3-0 in Naples. Michael Beale comes in. We're losing 5-1 in Eindhoven. Poor Steve Davis comes in to try and cover, and he's got the Limassol debacle, where we lose the Aris Limassol, one of the most humiliating defeats in our history, away to a Cypriot team. So for Clement to come in, and it is Sparta Prague. No, Sparta Prague in his second game. Real Betis, our first win against Spanish opposition in Spanish soil. Benfica in the knockout rounds of Europe. Benfica, and we go 2 each with them in the Stadium of Light. Dynamo Kiev and Poland, because they're technically they're at home, but they're having to play their games in Poland. Dynamo Kiev, it's a 1-each draw. Malmo, the champions of Sweden, we'd never beaten a Swedish team in a single competitive match before, and we go there and we beat the champions of Sweden, reigning champions and champions elect for this season, the Swedish summer season, and we beat them 2-0, going on 10-0. Piraeus against the Conference League holders, a team that's won a European trophy the previous season. European trophy holders, they take the lead against us. We come back instantly at 1 each, and we could have won that game just as easily. And tonight it's phenomenal. What an amazing run, different class, and it's a way of coming back from all those in between. What happened with Steven Gerrard, 7 away games in the one season, we failed to lose any of them. We had a few traumas away from home under different managers, and this is just restored the faith in Rangers away from home in Europe, and it's a result that will be noticed throughout Europe tonight, and Rangers results should be noticed throughout Europe. We're playing in all blue. We played in all blue tonight, the all blue European away kit on. The stands were empty, big spaces, the whole top tier, the 3 tiers around this stadium empty. I think the crowd was 18,000 odds. It holds 36,000. It's literally half full, or half empty, depending on how you want to look at it. But I think we had the one thing tonight was the penalty incident, where there was 2 guys up for having handled the ball in the box, and then Conor Barron was getting accused, or maybe getting looked at by the referee for potentially having brought somebody down. It was like the referee had given a penalty to Nice while the score was still 0-0, and it took from about the 6th minute to about the 58th minute for it to be resolved, and it looked like it's showing you what the referee was looking at, the replays he was looking at when he went to the screen to double check his decision. John Souttar, it wasn't a handball. Dujon Sterling, the ball I think did hit his arm, but he turned it as close into his stomach, as side on as possible. That wasn't counting. And then he started looking at Connor Barron, who'd made a tackle in this. It was Bajrami had failed to pick up his guy. That was something that happened a few times in the game. Bajrami had failed to track back in his slot on the left-hand side. And there was a shot into the box, and it was rebounding all over the place, and Connor Barron made a tackle, but the replay showed that he'd got to the ball first as well. And that kind of set the tone, really. It was like, that's the best you're going to do. That's the worst things they're going to get for us. We're going to push on here. They then had an injury. It was a fellow, the big 55. Funnily enough, the guy was numbered. He was a captain on the night. They'd made a lot of changes, a lot of injuries, suspensions, what have you. But the captain on the night picked up an injury, and he couldn't get going. They'd come on, the trainers come on to try and help him. The medical team, he tried to play on, it wasn't happening, and that took a few, 5 minutes or so to kind of resolve, and that kind of slowed them down a bit. Nice, definitely, they looked quite dangerous when they got near our box, and they're obviously going to kind of overwhelm us and a bit of all-out attack. They're playing at home, so they haven't lost at home all season, but we weren't really having it. We stood our ground. We started kind of breaking on them. Hefty did a whole thing. He skipped across their whole defence. Quite a good game tonight. Hefty has a shot that just goes past the post. I'm waiting for him to do a proper Brazilian, beat a few guys, and then curl one in. He's warming up to it. He's getting closer, but not tonight. Bajrami should have done, but he was cutting in from the left-hand side, and there was a moment where I think it was Bajrami plays through Igamane. We should probably have went to Cherny. I think Cherny was breaking. We're just breaking on them with the whole length of their half of the pitch. Every time they try to come at us, it was obviously open up behind, and we know this is what Rangers want. It's a criticism of Philip Clement domestically, because we've got teams like United who will sit in against us, as they did on Saturday at Ibrox. Most teams will sit in against us, and we don't know how to break that down properly. But my God, when somebody wants to come at us at their home place in Europe because they think they're better than it, it's just a dream come true for this Rangers team, and we're slicing them in two. Bajrami, it was probably the wrong choice by him to play through Igamane. But Igamane, it was a really good chance, and he cut back. It was like he'd kind of, he'd got a bit of stage fright, and he was kind of almost looking for a chance to lose the ball, and they get tackled. But it was easier to hit it first time, or he should have hit it first time. And you're thinking, is that going to get to him? Just a young fella, not getting many starts for us. Did it hell get to him? They couldn't get going at all, and their fans weren't happy about it. They started booing them, and they seemed to visibly wilt. The big number 55 went off, and Rosario, the Dutch fella called Rosario, he went back into centre half, so they're having to chop and change a bit as well. He went in to replace him. They brought a sub on, and it was getting worse, and their fans were really not enjoying it and letting the team know, and we went for them. We absolutely went for them, and the ball goes in. It was a corner. It was a corner. I'm still a bit kind of carried away with the whole thing, but the ball goes into their box, a high ball into the box. Big centre half looks like he's going to go in and win it, and Igamane just comes running right across the front of him, takes the ball, controls it, plays it off to Cherny. Václav Cherny hits the thing, takes a couple of deflections into the back of the net. That's 1-0 up after, was it 35 minutes or something like that? I think this is absolutely fantastic. 3 minutes later, Diamandi at 10 probably sums up the difference between Rangers domestically and Rangers in Europe. Connor Barron and Dio Raskin, by the way, they're gone. I don't know if Connor Barron is going to be allowed to. I don't know if you can go twice, 2 transfers in the one season. I don't know if you can go one window after the other, but no, Paris Saint-Germain is going to come in for them. Paris Saint-Germain, Monaco, Marseille are coming in for the two of them, maybe like 50 million the pair in January, if they possibly can, or maybe next summer at least. But they're just phenomenal. They're phenomenal. And they were in Olympiacos, they were in Piraeus, and then tonight they just get used to it now. They're destroyers, absolute destroyers, and so is Diamandi in front of them playing at 10. Because when he's playing at 10 in Scotland, you need somebody you need a team to be coming at us. It's basically to be going to Parkhead or something like that. Maybe Hearts fancying it. He scored against Hearts last year, or earlier this year, last season, because they were trying to give us a game. We ended up scalping them 5-0. Remember that time? Probably our best performance on the Clement domestically so far. But he's not a creator. He should be I think he's a box-to-box midfielder really in the system we're playing, doesn't he? Doesn't he fit him in properly? So if he can't play ostensibly in the sitting role, more of an 8, then with Barron coming in, sitting next to with Raskin coming back, that's going to stop them doing that. We're trying to utilise them at 10, especially in the absence of Tom Lawrence. but he doesn't have that thing. He's not creative enough in that sense, but he's destructive in a creative way. He sits in games like this where teams are trying to play throughs and trying to build from the back. Top 5 league sides that have the confidence to do that, that are trained to do that. When they try to come through him, he's just there like, it's like waves hitting against the corner of a harbour wall. He's in there just causing havoc. He's destroying. He's absolutely destroying these attacks that try to come through. This is the goal we got in Piraeus as well. Came from Connor Barron and Diamande and Cherny, all in there. High, very high, just outside the Olympiakos box. It's that high stakes kind of football where they're trying to create from there as well. But if you lose the ball, we're in on you. And we did the same again tonight. And there was a ball from, but for the actual goal, 3 minutes after the first goal, I'm just trying to settle down from that. You'd be the same. Dujon Sterling plays a lovely ball into the box. Diamande knows the guy's going to miss it. And he just follows in behind the fella. He knows the guy's going to miss it. The centre-half, who's between the centre-half, who's probably level with the penalty spot, and the goalie, who's kind of doesn't know where to stick or twist. And it's the finish. For him to be able to follow the arc of the ball, have the confidence to follow the run, knowing the centre-half's going to miss it. And then it's just one touch. He just puts his foot out, simultaneously catching the ball to control it, but also placing it away behind the goal. It's the side of his foot as well, into the far side of the net. I just think, that's glorious. That's absolutely glorious. What a goal. We're 2-0 up, and things, it's like, this is getting a bit dizzy at that point in time. You're thinking this has got shades of the night against Lyon. Ali on co-coms keen to tell us that Lyon side were much better than this Nice side. But then Igamane comes. It was I think it's one of their fullbacks. There must have been the right back. He's trying to play the ball back to the goalie, trying to curl the ball back to the goalie, and Igamane goes in and just cuts it out. And he's kind of round the goalkeeper, and Ali McCoy's quite right saying if would have felt a lot better if he just hit the thing first time into basically an empty net, but he's concentrating on controlling the ball, the young man, and a few centre halves get back and try to cover the goal line, but he slots it away, and that's it. It's 3-0. It's 3-0 before half time. They change. They bring on Ndombele, who scored against us for Napoli at Ibrox in the Champions League a couple of seasons ago. They bring him on, vastly experienced players at Spurs, French international and whatever. He comes on at half time, and they have a corner, they have a couple of attacks in the first few minutes, and it looks like this could be it. The comeback could be on. You know, they're a team that likes a comeback, Nice, so it could be a humiliation for Rangers. They end up chucking a 3-goal lead. That's absolute humiliation. But it's almost like what, you're going to have a go? You actually think you're going to have a go at us? You know, we get to that point where it was just, and what happened, the fella he's trying to pass the ball back to his goalie, is it? He's trying to knock the ball past Igamane, one of the centre halves, and he hits it straight to. Well, he doesn't hit it straight to him, but Igamane goes in there and he cuts it out. He's still well outside the box. He nutmegs the guy. He puts it through his legs, just bears down on goal and slots it away, and that's it. It's 4-0. It's like, I think we're probably all right. We're probably guaranteed a point at least in this game. You know, the only thing in the back of your mind is if we don't, you know, if somehow they start coming back at us, it's going to be a total humiliation to even draw the game, and what would have been before the match would have been a result you would have taken. It'll add to the pressure on Philippe Clement from certain sections of our support and the media. But what happened thereafter, a lot of people talking about, we missed so many chances, and but we played with 3 different players at number 10, playing the 10 position tonight. We started making substitutions about 8 minutes later. You know, Tav come on for Dujon Sterling. I've written it down actually because I was having trouble remembering the subs because it was just it was such a blur emotionally watching it. Tav come on, and Ross McCausland come on for Václav Cherny. So you're like, okay, Cherny's been doing well. His movement and his, you know, the way he's playing the ball really quickly, really quick feet. That's been a lot of what we've been doing tonight. So that's going to miss things out, and we started just missing a lot of chances, a catalogue of missed chances. But by the 68th minute, we brought on Ridvan for Diamande, we brought on Dessers for Igamane, and the missed chances are coming from like the fact we played Ridvan Yilmaz wide left. We kept Yefti at left back, and we played. So he's cutting in. He's got a header at the back post. The weakest guy in the park has got a header at the back post. I think that might have been from a corner, so it was a chance for Rangers to score for from a set piece, something not be doing this season. But he can't quite get on the ball. He can't get the purchase because he's so wee. Yilmaz, and he goes clean through and goal at one point. He's going to try to weave his way through the box, and I think he hits the ball straight at the goalie or something like that. But this thing, I mean, they could have scored. We should have scored 7 or 8. But what Philippe Clement was doing was the minute he thought the game was over, he's thinking about getting the guys who he has benched to have Dessers, get them on for game time. Looking towards Perth, looking towards Riviera. No, I think a manager who's gaslighting us, etc., would have kept his starting 11 on the park as long as he could, the way they were playing, and win this game 6 or 7-0 to get the publicity for it, so he looks like the big man. But he's not interested in that. He's trying to develop this team. He's trying to develop this squad. The minute the game is over, it's practicalities. He's getting as many more players so we can get more of Igamane and Sterling, that kind of scenario where they come into the team and just transform. It's transformed now, the squad, by this game tonight. Domestically, we now have 3 options up front. We have 3 options. Danilo obviously not in the European squad because of the injury he suffered. That's a call the manager made that's perhaps controversial, but domestically going to Perth on Sunday. Dessers is now third choice, but he has scored 10 goals this season, Cyriel Dessers. We can't be writing the guy off, although he had the miss of the century. And we got to the last minutes of normal play. Phenomenal ball from Tav. Tav hitting the byline, pulling it back, putting it right on Dessers, like yards outside this. 2 yards, maybe 8 yards out total. 2 yards outside the 6-yard box, centre of the goal, controls it, brings it down perfectly, and just kind of side foots it awkwardly and puts it past the post when you couldn't imagine how he was going to miss it. And I felt sorry for the big man. It's the last thing he needed. It'd be nice if he could have got a goal tonight, so his confidence was maintained despite a very public, substitution on Saturday and a benching tonight. But it wasn't to be. We know he does come back. But yeah, he was phenomenal. Is Derek McInnes one of the people who has been cited, who's been put forward as being a potential replacement for Philippe Clement? I was talking about this last week. I'm not trying to make out that I am fundamentalist when it comes to defending Philippe Clement. It's a kind of cerebral thing. I've kind of thought it through. And it's also partly instinctive. It doesn't feel right, like Sharon Nelson going down at West Pico Boulevard in LA. It's a book that I have opened, and now I need to know much more. I want to know what's happening. I've got unfinished sympathy for him, if you like. I need to know what's going to happen with Clement. I feel as if there's a story there for Rangers, a good story, obviously. I want to see what's going to happen, but I'm still, when we're in a bit of a downer generally, the performances haven't been great domestically, and there's talk, a headline in the back of Daily Record, Derek McInnes, why he's the man to take over from Philippe Clement, and I did get a wee free song, as I was like, oh no, but McInnes is there in the studio tonight, the TNT studio, and he's addressing the fact that people are saying, Ali McCoy's been chief among them, that Nice were terrible, and he's saying, yeah, but there's 2 teams out there, one of them's playing as individuals and one of them's playing as a team, and that's the thing for me. If it's all faulty pieces, as I was saying at the beginning of this pod, if it's all faulty pieces, if it's faulty bits under Philippe Clement, if the players don't know what they're doing because of him, we couldn't have put in that performance tonight. We were on a plan, and Nice would have overwhelmed us if we'd let them. But my God, we utterly destroyed them. It's talking about French football, talking about French internationals. I've spouted this one before, but what the hell? You've all switched off by now anyway. Who cares? Both of you have switched off by now, so I'll just enjoy myself. When David Trezeguet, who missed the penalty that cost France the 2006 World Cup final, his dad was Argentinian and moved to France to play in the French league, make a bit of money there. But Trezeguet was brought up as Argentinian, basically. He felt like an Argentine as a kid, and he's watching the 1986 World Cup, Maradona basically winning it single-handedly in Mexico for Argentina. He's like, Dad, when I grow up, I want to play in a World Cup final for Argentina, and I want to win the World Cup. And his dad it was like, he knows his boy's going to be a footballer. The chances are he's going to be a footballer. It was one of those moments where you don't just go, whatever, son, I'm sure you'll do it. He's like, right. He says, just remember my dad saying to me, okay, can I sit down, look at me? He says, you can never make something like that happen. You can never guarantee something like that will happen. But what you can do is you can set the table, you can clean the room, and you can leave the door open. You know? So if it's passing by, it can drop in. You know, you've got to be ready to take advantage of, for example, Nice, a team in one of the richest leagues in the world, who are 5th in that league, not being at their best, who haven't lost at home all season, not being at their best, and we have got to be there to destroy them. We did. We absolutely destroyed them, and it's a cracking result for Rangers. And it's been a lovely night that we deserve. We really do deserve it. And I actually scribbled in a few notes here because it was so mad. But yeah, it looks like it's all red and black writing. And I basically, in this wee kind of pad thing, I just picked up and started jotting stuff down because I knew my head would be all over the place due to the excitement. And it just looks like, I'm going to quickly show you this, even though it's back to front, this is scary. It became a bit mad, and it looks like Kevin Spacey, the Kevin Spacey character, when they find all the jotters that he's been writing in like a maniac in 7. And that is 7. That is 7 games away from home in Europe under Philippe Clement. Rangers unbeaten in every one of those games has been an absolute epic. And I'll talk to you before we play St Johnstone, folks. But right now, just block everything else out. Just enjoy the most recent game that Rangers have played and how well they played in that game. And think about the boys of 56, because they started this mad adventure in Europe and they lost to Nice very narrowly. Took it to a playoff, and the boys of 2024 have more than avenged them. Enjoy the rest of your day, troops.